OpenAI introducing an ability to turn text into high-quality videos. A possible partnership could shake up streaming services. Super Bowl breaks records. A new chatbot that you can run locally. Microsoft testing the waters of going third-party. And a possible delay on Nintendo's next big thing. This and a whole lot more taking over the headlines of the past week. I'm Jason Greenwald, and this is The Fresh Water. Hey everyone, hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to another episode of The Fresh Wire. I'm Jason Greenwald. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it every time. It is currently 10:43 p.m., February 16th, 2024. Hope you're having a good morning, afternoon, evening, day, or night, wherever you are, however you live. A whole lot has happened in the past few days, and normally, I'm going to mix things up a little bit. Normally, I would start with the futurology at the end, but something happened that is so extraordinary, and of course, it involves artificial intelligence, AI, and I have to start with it because this is absolutely futurology in its prime. OpenAI, the makers of DALL-E and ChatGPT, which powers Microsoft Copilot, has introduced Sora, its text-to-video AI model. What it does, if you don't understand, as we understand with DALL-E and what powers Microsoft Copilot, formerly Bing Chat, it allows you to put in what you want created into an image and then makes it into an image. In recent months, the ability to do that in video form has been very difficult, low resolution, and very messy. About a year ago, if you don't know, a viral clip of Will Smith eating spaghetti looked very wrong because it was AI generated, and it was about a year ago, I think. Well, a year of innovation with AI has just been extraordinary, and they've now introduced Sora, which, with its latest model, it can take text prompts and turn them into complex scenes with multiple characters, specific types of motion, and more. This is extraordinary. It's actually hard to explain over audio. It's knowing that this is all AI generated is pretty incredible. And now, of course, it's still AI, and legitimately, the scariest thing about all of this is that it will never get worse, except for maybe the AI data poisoning thing that's been going around. But other than that, it's never going to get worse. And this already looks insane. One use case I've been seeing is this could completely destroy the stock image and stock video industry, where now if you need file of something happening, you can just put in a text prompt and make it yourself. Some examples, some AI-generated samples from OpenAI's blog post includes an aerial scene of California during the gold rush, which is crazy, a video that looks like as if it were shot from the inside of a Tokyo train, and others. Now, of course, like I said, it's still AI, and it's still, with the ambition that this is going on, it feels like this is continuously looking like early stages. Suspiciously moving forward in a video of a museum, as one example. But OpenAI says the model, quote, may struggle with accurately simulating the physics of a complex scene, unquote. The results, still unbelievably impressive. Now, I think Google tried to make something similar. Lumiere, as I think one of its primary competitors. It also looked pretty good. It was I think from what I've seen, it was a few seconds. That's its limitations. Also, I think it was low frame rate and low resolution, but of course, it looked noticeably better than the Will Smith pasta fiasco. But this is unbelievable. Now, the good news is there is some sort of watermark that is placed by OpenAI in the bottom right. Now, of course, you could crop that, so or maybe even use AI to remove the watermark. Earlier this month, OpenAI announced it was adding watermarks to its text-to-image tool, DALL-E 3, the latest model, noting it can be easily removed, though. Sora, as for Sora, it's currently only available to, quote, red teamers, unquote, who are assessing the model for potential harms and risks. OpenAI is also offering access to some visual artists, designers, and filmmakers to get feedback. What I assume all three of those categories of people are going to say, they're going to come together and say, no, because this is actually very dangerous. It notes that the existing model might not accurately simulate the physics of a complex scene and may not properly interpret certain instances of cause and effect. What I also anticipate is if you say anything that's like copyright material, like this is definitely not going to be made. But this is obviously very scary. I mean, text is still going to look jumbled here and there. Another one that I saw was someone trying to make a cinematic looking movie trailer, like shot on like 35 millimeter film or something. That was part of the prompt. And it genuinely looked insane. At a first glance, you would think it's all like real with like special effects. There is some very big potential with this, but not entirely for good. For example, there's no way, absolutely no way, and I hope I'm right, that this is released in some form that is at least somewhat accessible this year. And the biggest reason is why. 2024 election. This is extremely dangerous, and if put into the wrong hands and with restrictions that should be applied, it could be extremely dangerous. All of a sudden, now you can't really hope that what you're seeing is legitimate anymore. Images already starting to look pretty impressive, although they still had their problems from time to time. But if this is the first iteration of something that actually looks impressive, this is like we are probably going to see something very, very capable a year from now. Now, again, the limit is a minute long, and it's usually focused on like slow-mo things, slow-moving scenes, and looks like a kind of a low frame rate, but it's just the beginning. It's going to get better, and that's the scary part. But of course, I will have to keep my eye on it, as I do with a lot of things. One thing I also try to keep my eye on is streaming services and the fiasco that constantly goes around with them. And as I mentioned last week, there's this talk of a juggernaut of sports streaming from Fox Sports, from Disney/ESPN, from Warner Bros. Discovery, to combine all of them and offer a solution for cord cutters. And I don't know. I mean, we'll have to wait and see for that because it's expected to have a fall release. Meanwhile, Comcast and Paramount Global, so the two that were not in talks with this sports juggernaut, they have Comcast has Peacock, Paramount Global has Paramount Plus. Well, they've reportedly held early talks about a Peacock Paramount Plus combination. No imminent deal is expected. And Comcast is the parent of NBC Universal. They recently discussed the possibility of uniting the services in some kind of a partnership or joint venture. They were first reported Friday by the Wall Street Journal, so this is earlier today. Sources confirmed early discussions between the two, whose respective subscription streaming platforms are significantly smaller than Netflix and Disney+. They have not, however, progressed beyond the spitballing stage. Reps for both companies declined to comment from a Variety article. So this would be huge. For notice, Peacock has about, at the end of 2023, 31 million subscribers. And as of September 2023, Paramount Plus reached more than 63 million global subscribers. They are slated to report fourth quarter earnings February 28th. We'll have a more accurate number by then, I guess. Separately, earlier this week, of course, there's always layoffs. Paramount Global announced a round of company-wide layoffs, resulting in about 800 staffers being let go. So, wow. Paramount Global chief and Warner Bros. Discovery CEO in December briefly discussed the idea of merging Warner Bros. Discovery and Paramount Global. That has not gone. Oof. Yeah, I don't know. Very strange ordeal. And I hope it. I'm not for it. I guess I'm just not for it. Merging services, merging companies. It's not always a great time. When Disney acquired Fox, 21st Century Fox. Oh man, X-Men joining Marvel, Avengers. Now look what's going on. Outside of Deadpool, X-Men '97, and I guess a recently released casting of the Fantastic Four. It's like they're in a very bad spot right now. So I'm not fully, mergers are not usually great. Unfortunately, part of that layoffs with Paramount Global is a service that really upset me a little bit because of the fact that I watched this when I was very young. Noggin is now shutting down after Paramount Global laid off the subscription service's entire staff. It's a casualty of the company-wide layoffs this week that I mentioned earlier. The entire team that ran Noggin has been laid off, reported by trade publication Kid Screen. So it's shutting down after almost 10 years. Noggin will wind down sometime this year, exact date still to be determined. Noggin will no longer be taking new subscribers, and there will be a transition period for current subscribers. I'm not sure what that means. Paramount Plus already includes content that's been on Noggin under Nick Jr. Designed for kids aged 2 to 7. It was launched in 2015, recently costing $8 a month or $71 a year. From 1999 to 2009, it operated as a cable TV channel offshoot of Nickelodeon. That's how I remember it. That is how I remember it, watching it through there. And of course, 2009, I was absolutely out of the age of Noggin enjoyers. But yeah, obviously very, very disappointing. In 2019, it had 2.5 million paying subscribers per the Kid Screen report. But I guess it wasn't enough, and layoffs just completely impacted it, and that is a very big shame. And of course, it will be missed because it was a great brand. Moose and Z. Very, very sad. Very sad. Another weird thing, but not entirely another death involving a streaming service, but rather a brand. NBC Universal is killing off the Vudu brand, renaming the service Fandango at Home. Very weird. Vudu has been part of NBC Universal's Fandango movie ticketing and entertainment division and is now being renamed to be more in line, I guess, with the brand Fandango. Vudu first launched with an internet set-top box in 2007. Keep in mind, very long time ago. Internet set-top box. It was acquired by retail giant Walmart in 2010, but in 2020, NBC Universal-owned Fandango bought it from Walmart. The name change is a reversal for Fandango, which in 2021 phased out the Fandango Now movie and TV storefront, replacing it with the Vudu name. Vudu has now notified customers of the rebranding via email Thursday. In the message, it said the change would occur, quote, in a few weeks. In an FAQ posted on the Vudu site, Fandango says, quote, all your movies and TV shows from Vudu will remain in your Fandango at Home library. Nothing in your account will change. However, you now have the option to link your Fandango and Fandango at Home. Now, I actually remember Vudu very well because it was very ahead of its time. It initially launched with the ability to download movies over the internet for local playback, focusing on high-quality digital formats, including its proprietary HDX format. Today, it now offers more than 200,000 titles for rent or buy, including new releases and thousands of free titles. So that's why I remember it. My parents, the first smart TV we ever owned in our house was a Mitsubishi, I think, and it had a smart TV OS. It was very basic, but this was, remember, more than a decade ago. And it had Vudu. That was like its premier service. I don't think it had Netflix. I think it had Facebook, but it didn't have Netflix. And it had Vudu. We barely used it, of course. I think it came with some free credit. I don't remember. Again, very long time ago. And yeah, it was pretty cool. I think we had like a free title here and there. And it definitely was correct with high quality. Another thing that was, some may call high quality, others may not. But it was a huge deal, as you may know. In the past, between this episode and the previous one, Super Bowl 58 happened. And it is now the most watched telecast in history. 123.4 million viewers across platforms, 120 million of which on CBS, the largest audience ever for a single network. Most streamed Super Bowl ever, led by record-setting audience on Paramount Plus. Very interesting situation here. This is the first time I can think of in a long time where I don't know if you were able to see Super Bowl 58 on the CBS Sports app. I was at work when this happened, so I just watched it on CBS. However, I also, from time to time, watched it on Nickelodeon, and I gotta say, wow, what an experience. I actually preferred it. Nickelodeon. Hot take. I don't know. But yeah, 123.4 million average viewers across all platforms, including CBS, Paramount Plus, Nickelodeon, Univision, and CBS Sports, Univision, and I don't know why this press release says and twice. Univision and NFL digital properties, including NFL Plus. So if you only had NFL Plus, you're still able to watch it. Although, why? You could watch it for free somewhere, please. So the most watched program ever, up 7% versus last year's Super Bowl. Both times the Kansas City Chiefs won. Great. Just great. Capped off a record-setting season for CBS Sports. And yeah, it's obviously very record-breaking. And, the visuals, at least the scoreboard, was a bit disappointing for how it looked. I remember last year Fox had a very general look for all of their games that they had that season, but when the Super Bowl happened on Fox last year, they, in a way, introduced a new look for their NFL games, and they utilized the Super Bowl as that opportunity. In the following season, this year, they used that new graphics, that new look, for the whole season. Hopefully, CBS, but it was clearly a basis, but not the final product. It looked a little nicer, a little more polished when they used it for the following season. I hope CBS does that because they have a very, admittedly, basic scoreboard and graphics look for their NFL games, and they changed things up a little bit, but I think they used Arial font for the initials for the teams. I hope they at least bolden the letters or fix it up a little bit, make it look a little shinier, a little more polished, and they'll finally have a more nicer looking look. So hopefully they do that. But the Super Bowl, very big deal. A lot has happened with the Super Bowl because of a really good thing, the ads. A little bit of AI, a little cybersecurity, no national crypto ads, so that's a big change. Apple Music sponsored the Usher halftime show. I feel like it's oddly divided, but I thought it was pretty good. Of course, if you were there in person, from the video I've seen of someone recording it, at least a little bit of it, it was definitely made to be watched on TV. So that's a bit of a shame. New Deadpool and Wolverine trailer looked pretty good, so I'm excited for that. Like I said, one of the few things Marvel has going for it. Some of the ads were pretty funny, pretty entertaining. I was apparently in a market, one of the very few markets that had an ad for that featured, I'll just say, Kanye West, formerly Kanye West, now Ye, and very intriguing ad, I'll just say. But apparently it was a regional ad. Just wanted to mention that. That was a very strange one. Also, of course, if you watch the Puppy Bowl, massive respect to you. I watched parts of it. Now we're going to get into a little more controversial stuff, even though I just said Kanye West. Streaming services, you got to love it. Amazon Prime Video, they did something that people are not fond of, and with introducing ads to their $2.99, not $2.99, they introduced ads to their basic Prime Video plan, or if you only have Amazon Prime, including me. And they said if you want, the ad-free experience back, you got to pay $2.99, and don't worry, that's the only main difference. Is no longer true. They've now confirmed, it's not a mistake, Amazon Prime Video, the basic tier, no longer has Dolby Vision HDR or Dolby Atmos surround sound. So since January 29th, when this change kicked in, you lost the premium HDR format and premium surround sound option. Now, if you want those back, and you didn't really care about ads, you're going to have to pay $2.99 a month. Although if you were used to watching Prime Video the way it was, you probably care that there's now ads every now and then. So this confirmation that's the word from 4K Film, discovering that their smart TVs from Sony, LG, and Samsung now displaying content in HDR10 with Dolby Digital 5.1 as opposed to the higher fidelity options. An Amazon spokesperson confirms it's a deliberate move. So very, very weird situation. Now, from what I remember reading, HDR10 Plus, another better HDR format, is still available with the ad-free plan. As far as I know, HDR10 Plus, I think, is royalty-free, so it's cheaper to license and utilize compared to Dolby Vision HDR or Dolby Atmos surround sound. The difference thing is they literally just took this away. This is almost the equivalent of a price hike. This is almost the equivalent of what Max did when they went from HBO Max to Max. They had everyone pay for this amount of price, I think it was $16, $17, and then said, actually, we're going to introduce a new plan when we rename to Max. It's $20, and that's where the 4K content is going to be. That's where you can watch on more devices. The difference there is, don't worry, you'll have a few months to keep the features you have now, and then you'll have to upgrade or lose out. For Amazon, They did not say you were going to lose Dolby Vision HDR or Dolby Atmos. So obviously, in my mind, completely unacceptable and very disappointing. Very, very disappointing. Very, very. If you subscribe to just Prime Video for $8.99 a month and you add the $2.99, it's more like a 28% price hike. So if you wanted to keep the premium HDR, or let's say you have an LG TV like me that has Dolby Vision HDR but not HDR10 Plus, if you want that better quality experience that you've had, now you have to pay extra, even if you were okay with ads. So stupid. Very stupid. Very, very stupid. Also, not as stupid, but a little thing about the Super Bowl. Apparently, during the halftime performance featuring Alicia Keys, at one point, her voice cracked early on in her performance. I do remember watching that. I was like, whoa, really? And everyone at my work also noticed. Fascinatingly, the official NFL YouTube channel, when they released the halftime performance, of course featuring Usher, they erased the little moment, editing it out in their upload. Likely an intentional edit, as it seems like an easy one. Not the first time something like this has happened. AV Club pointed out Jennifer Lopez's Raw 2010 Saturday Night Live performance was also altered for a later video upload. It also happens elsewhere in entertainment, like a disappearing coffee cup in Game of Thrones, or let's just say a lot of the original Star Wars trilogy. Well, you learn something new every day, and it seems like they do that from time to time. Now, for Microsoft, Windows 11 looks like they may be getting a very interesting improvement for some upcoming PC games. It seems like Microsoft is readying its own DLSS-like AI upscaling feature. A user on Twitter/X has discovered the feature inside a new test version of Windows 11, Microsoft describing its automatic super resolution as a way to, quote, use AI to make supported games play more smoothly with enhanced details. If you're familiar with PC technology, it sounds kind of like Nvidia's deep learning super sampling technology, or DLSS, which utilizes AI and a specific GPU you have to have, made by Nvidia, released in the past few years, using AI to upscale games and improve frame rates and image quality. AMD and Intel also have their own variants, usually more not needing their specific GPUs, although I think if you have AMDs or Intels and you use their tech, I think it should be better performance, understandably. This feature has not been officially announced, so it's not exactly clear how it works, nor if it'll need any specific hardware. I would be surprised if it does, if it doesn't say or mention DLSS anywhere. Also in this update was an improved color management feature for Windows 11, particularly useful for upcoming OLED monitors that make use of HDR. For years, Windows 11 has lacked, or Windows in general has lacked, a good OS-level color management system. I definitely see that. And it has left PC gamers having to add custom color profiles in a dialog box that looks like it was shipped in Windows 95. Now it'll be integrated into the main display settings, allowing PC users to set color profiles for sRGB and DCI-P3. Very, very good stuff. Also a new feature that will allow to automatically control these various color profiles. I'm excited for that, and best of luck to further improvements. And eventually when they release Windows 12. I'm seeing constant rumors for Windows 12, and it looks like it's not happening this year. Maybe someday. I mean, they did say earlier, Windows 10 will be the last Windows ever. And look what operating system I am running now. Nvidia, speaking of, introduced an early version of something called Chat with RTX, a demo app that lets you run a personal AI chatbot on your PC. You can feed it YouTube videos and your own documents to create summaries and get relevant answers based on your own data. All of it, assuming you have the right hardware, running locally on your computer. Again, you need a more recent NVIDIA GPU. I could probably try this. This is an RTX 30 or 40 series GPU with at least 8 gigabytes of VRAM. So not just a recent GPU from NVIDIA, but also a higher end one. So app seems to be a little rough around the edges, understandably. It's still early days, but it can search through your local documents, like it said. It could search through YouTube videos, but it wasn't perfect. And yeah, good at summarizing. And I'm pretty excited for content like this. Although it definitely feels like an early developer demo, one writer says it essentially installs a web server and Python instance on your PC, which then leverages Mistral or Llama 2 models to query the data you feed it. It then utilizes Nvidia's tensor cores on an RTX GPU to speed up your queries. If you didn't know what any of that understood, I don't blame you. I do. But it's very clear that if you have to go through all of that to set this up, it is not ready for prime time. But, of course, the fact that it works at all is pretty promising. It took around 30 minutes for this person to have it installed, and they have a very, very capable computer app, nearly 40 gigabytes in size. And, so it's not being offered as a polished app. So, but it, of course, it's a good tech demo, and I can imagine it's going to get better over time, just as AI has been for a while now. And speaking of AI, Nvidia, Microsoft, OpenAI, what about Google? What are they doing? Well, in recent weeks, they renamed Bard to Gemini, and now it seems like they're already going in and making the next iteration of Gemini 1.5. Specifically, Gemini 1.5 Pro, the general purpose model Google utilizes, is apparently on par with the high-end Gemini Ultra the company only recently launched, besting Gemini 1.0 Pro on 87% of benchmark tests. Very, very interesting. One new thing in Gemini 1.5 that has the whole company, including the CEO, especially excited apparently. Gemini 1.5 has an enormous context window. I'll explain. It means it can handle much larger queries and look at much more information at once. The window, a whopping 1 million tokens. For comparison, OpenAI's ChatGPT-4 or GPT-4 model, which also I think runs Microsoft Copilot, is 128,000, and the current Gemini Pro, or 1.0 Pro, I guess, 32,000. It's a tricky metric to understand, so the CEO made it simpler. He said, quote, "It's about 10 or 11 hours of video, tens of thousands of lines of code." The context window meaning you can ask the AI bot about all of that content on once. The CEO also saying Google's researchers are testing a 10 million token context window. This writer saying that's like the whole series of Game of Thrones all at once. The writer being The Verge, by the way. I'm looking through the summary for The Verge. Great quality article. Right now, it'll only be available to business users and developers through Google's Vertex AI and AI Studio. Eventually, it will replace Gemini 1.0 and the standard version of Gemini Pro, the one available to everyone and the company's apps. However, that version will have a 128,000 token context window. Still very impressive, equivalent to GPT-4. You'll have to pay extra to get to the million. Probably the new Google One AI Premium plan that I find ridiculous, considering I've already gotten the Google One Premium plan, and the AI one is $20 extra, or I think it goes from 10 to 20 a month, but there's no annual plan. I run off of the annual plan. It's just a better deal. $10 extra, and only the main user can access the AI. Pretty lame, and I like the annual plan, so there's no annual plan. And if it was twice the price, and that's the only difference, except I think they're adding AI to Gmail and other Google Workspace apps as well with that plan exclusively. So I guess eventually it'll have some better value, but not right now, and probably never going to be enough for me to upgrade or at least move to monthly. All right, now to the gaming section, and there is not a whole lot, but very big topics. First one being from Microsoft, where they, in recent days, talked about what the future of Xbox is going to be, and they've made it official in a podcast episode. 4 games previously Xbox exclusive are coming to PS5 and Nintendo Switch. Microsoft starting off with just 4 games, but more is possible. Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer said on the official Xbox podcast, quote, "We've made the decision that we're going to take 4 games to the other consoles," unquote. They did not want to name the titles, but sources familiar with Microsoft plans say the first 2 will be Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment, followed by Sea of Thieves and Grounded. Some of those games being very popular Xbox Game Pass titles, or Game Pass titles, whatever they call them now. So them going to other platforms is a pretty big deal. Now remember, nearly every Xbox exclusive game has also been on PC, whether through the Microsoft Store, through Game Pass, or through nowadays Steam. But that's, not Game Pass. Not every Xbox game, however, is suddenly going to appear. Phil Spencer confirms Starfield and Indiana Jones are not part of the first 4 games, but did not rule out the possibility for these titles to arrive on PS5 in the future. He said, quote, "I don't think we should, as an industry, ever rule out a game going to any other platform," unquote. Quote again, "We're focused on these 4 games and learning from the experience. We don't have work going on other franchises, but for anybody to stand up and say something's never going to happen, I think it feels like creating more certainty in a world of gaming where you really want to respond to what customers want and what our players and creators are looking for," unquote. That was an interview Phil Spencer did with The Verge. So with the big ordeal that they now have Activision Blizzard, it seems like a genuine possibility that the worries of Xbox exclusivity just may have went out the window. However, with this big push to third party, what about their current consoles? Well, it's pretty clear that they're going to continue supporting the console that millions of customers have already bought. However, they wanted to tease something interesting, specifically an ultra-powerful next-generation Xbox and possibly a handheld too, saying they're working on, quote, unique, unquote, hardware and a big next-gen, quote, technical leap, unquote. In the official Xbox podcast, the Xbox president, Sarah Bond, teased that Microsoft will deliver the largest technical leap with the next-generation Xbox. Here's a full quote. "We've got more to come. There's some exciting stuff coming out in hardware that we're going to share this holiday. We're also invested in the next-generation roadmap. What we're really focused on there is delivering the largest technical leap you will have ever seen in a hardware generation, which makes it better for players and better for creators and the visions that they're building," unquote. In an interview to The Verge, Phil Spencer actually went further, teasing what the Xbox hardware teams are thinking about building. He said, quote, "I'm very proud of the work that the hardware team is doing, not only for this year, but also into the future. We're really thinking about creating hardware that sells to gamers because of the unique aspects of the hardware. It's kind of an unleashing of the creative capability of our hardware team that I'm really excited for." So, could it be an Xbox-specific handheld finally coming? I read somewhere that someone, I think at Microsoft, recognized that Windows is just not that great for Xbox or for handheld gaming, Windows and whatnot. So this could be a big push. I think they've been making some changes to the Xbox app to make it more handheld friendly. Like if you were to install Windows on the Valve Steam Deck, or if you were to get one of the newer Windows running gaming handhelds like the, I think, Asus ROG Ally. I think that's one of them. However, in an earlier episode, I talked about a leaked Xbox Series X that had no disc slot and a new controller. Well, it suggested they still might be a thing. Microsoft did a blog post said, quote, "We have a robust and innovative multi-year hardware roadmap, including more console and controller options for you this holiday. Xbox players will know that their games are built to maximize the latest features of our hardware and services." Whatever that means, take that for what you will, and have fun with it. What you might not have fun with is yet another disappointing, in a way, news, but it really shouldn't be. It's entirely rumors and speculation and reports of reports, and it involves the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, if you don't know, I got the Nintendo Switch midnight launch, March 3rd, 2017. Fantastic handheld to this day. Still works, still great. I kept the screen protector on it this whole time. It cracked, but I barely play it handheld, so it doesn't really matter. I never got into wanting to buy another Switch or even the Switch OLED, which costed more, but it barely performed better, realistically wasn't supposed to. I've just been waiting for the Switch 2, or at least a better performing Switch. The Switch Pro fell through, reportedly, and it looks like the Switch 2 got a bit of an internal delay. The original reporting for the Switch 2's release date pegged it for a fall 2024 release in time for the holiday rush. Sources speaking to VGC, however, suggest Nintendo is telling publishers the console's release date is slated for the first quarter of 2025. So that would be, I think, January to the end of March. VGC isn't the only one. A video from a Brazilian journalist and, quote, similar whispers, unquote, reported by sources speaking to Eurogamer, a very reputable video game news outlet, suggests the window has been pushed to that first quarter as well. As I said, midnight launch for the Switch was March 3rd, 2017, so that was also first quarter. So it would make it launch at the same time as its predecessor 8 years prior. That's a very impressive timeline for a console in general, 8 years. That would be longer than the PS4. That launched November 2013 in the US. November 2020 was when the PS5 released. Same month in both cases for Xbox One to Xbox Series X, and I think Series S. 2 of VGC's sources confirmed they were developing Switch 2 games planned for early 2025. This later release date would give time for developers to finish launch titles, one of which could possibly be Metroid Prime 4. Remember that game? Announced in 2017, the summer that the Nintendo Switch launched that same year, where development rebooted in 2019 and has not had an update since 5 years ago. News outlet Polygon has been theorizing that Nintendo might be holding on to it for its new console. That would suck, but not too surprising. Now, of course, this does give the Switch even more time to continue selling, the hope for backwards compatibility, but you never know nowadays. It could be anything. It could be everywhere all at once. And it's just, I just wanted a new Switch model. I will gladly buy a new Switch. Gladly. A new Switch 2, Switch Pro, Switch anything that's better performance, better pizza, Papa John's. It's just, I've been waiting for it. But I guess I'll keep waiting an entire year. I was really hoping for this year because you would have the expectation they're going to announce it soon. Just like how the expectation is that there's supposed to be a Nintendo Direct this month, as there's been a Direct, I think, every February for the past few years. And we're now in the middle of February, and there's been no announcement. I'll remain optimistic until maybe next episode. And if I don't get to talk about Nintendo Direct, all hope may be lost. But who knows? By the way, I hope everyone that's been listening had a wonderful Valentine's Day, whether you were with someone. Now, last topic I'll be talking about is involving VR, and it's not great news. After announcing December, that Microsoft was deprecating Windows Mixed Reality, they have now released a new insider preview build, so a developer-esque build, a preview build, without the feature. The company writing in a blog post, Windows Mixed Reality headsets won't work from this build on, including for Steam VR and Steam VR Beta. So I guess if you have a Windows Mixed Reality headset, which I remember was trying to be a lower cost alternative to the HTC Vive and the Oculus Rift, like a lower cost alternative VR headset that you would plug into your computer most of the time. Users can still use Mixed Reality headsets with Steam until November 2026 if they don't update from Windows 11 version 23H2. That's the current Windows 11 version available to the mainstream people. The next one, I think, is 24H2, which they're now testing, and of course, H2 being the second half, is expected to release the second half of this year. The company added, quote, this deprecation does not impact HoloLens. They're very uber expensive AR experience, whatever. So, yeah, that's unfortunate, but luckily MetaQuest doesn't seem to have that issue, and I have a Quest 3, and I will gladly stick with it. Although at one point, a very long time ago, I was interested in getting a mixed reality headset. Glad I didn't, I guess. Because it's pretty crazy to say, oh, you can still use it until November 2026, as long as you don't update your Windows 11 version beyond the second half of this year. Big ask, especially when there's probably very few people still using a mixed reality headset because of how cheap the MetaQuest 2 VR headset is. And that'll be it for me. Thank you all again for tuning into my latest episode of the podcast, Fresh Wire. I really do appreciate it every time that people tune in, and I will continue doing these every Friday night for the foreseeable future. And yeah, I didn't really talk a whole lot personally at the beginning. Wanted to focus it on the latest and greatest that happened. And let me know if that's something you guys would rather prefer, if I go back to speaking a little personal. Didn't have a whole lot to talk about this past week anyway. But that'll be it for me. Thank you all once more. Appreciate it. And I will catch you all around in the next one. Until then, take care of yourselves and have a gosh darn good one. Have a good day, morning, afternoon, evening, night, wherever you are, however you live. See you around.